Now, in the same Leo mindset,
That is part of the success. Oh, that's a great question. I wholeheartedly believe that it doesn't work if we are not true to ourselves.
the Strat can do anything to anybody.
This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Fender Stratocaster, but the Strats made in 2024 are wildly different to the Strats from 1954. So what are those differences, and what makes a Strat a Strat? Well, who better to ask than the people themselves who make them? I've been invited here to the Fender factory in Corona to find out, so let's go and meet them.
The Strat is my main guitar and has been since I was 9 years of age. Now, I played others, Tellys, other brands, etc., but the Strat is my mainstay. It's very simple, it's very straight ahead, but to me, and I think the numbers are a testament that a Strat can be anything to anybody. And I've had different iterations personally. And as a kid, when I would see those guitars prior to getting it, it was just stunning. I mean, just the lines. I didn't know anything about a Stratocaster per se. It's just when I saw that guitar, it's like, that's the one I have to have. So here's a vintage Strat neck. And because people want their Fenders to be like historically correct, you'll notice on here we have these holes here and here. That was because the templates were affixed to the piece of wood that way. So the perimeter was routed, the back shape was done, but then you use the same holes to index it and put it on what we call the swing sander. And that would establish the radius on the fingerboard. It was a 7¼ inch radius. And then immediately we'd take that off of the swing sander and take it over to what we call the gang saw. And using the same arms without removing the fixture, swing it through, and that gave us the fret slots. That was my first job. So I swung the radius and I took it off of this, and I went over here and I ran it through the gang saw, the slotter. So here we have truss rod installation. You know, it was a very simple part back in the day. Like I said earlier, Leo didn't want to use it, but it proved not a good idea to not use it. And interestingly, when Leo required the truss rod to be used on the broadcaster, because broadcasters without truss rods were failing left and right, Gibson, who patented the truss rod, it had just come off patent, so they could use it.
No. Was it really that serendipitous?
It was that, yes, it was.
I love that.
All right, so the truss rods are installed here. Moving on. So because CNCs are so fast and cut so quickly, what happens, particularly in a critical area like the back shape, we remove so much material that what it does is it releases the stresses at the juvenile core of the board, and it literally starts moving. And if we were to move it too quickly to the next process, and then we get an aggregate buildup, by the time we get to the end of the line, we're not going to be where we need to be. So per your earlier statement, you mentioned that your favorite neck is a 1056. So was Blackie.
Really?
Yeah.
The one thing about the Strat, one of the major changes from 1954 to 2024 is there are now more than one headstock shape and size available. Mark, what happened? What was the reason? Some of us know some of the rumors, but we're here now. Let's get it right from someone who definitely knows after 47 years with Fender.
Well, first we can't get here from there without mentioning the headstock on the Esquire broadcaster,
Right.
Melcaster.
Sure, so start with
All
Telly.
right. So I want to start this way. Again, he was very thrifty, if you will. But what a lot of people don't realize is, particularly in that period of time, Leo and team were very much into pinup girls. And they had seen other guitars, Paul Bigsby's newfangled guitar and things of that sort. But it was Leo's suggestion to George Fullerton that he wanted the headstock to look like a pinup girl's foot.
No.
And I'll show you photos in a moment.
Okay, I'm seeing it.
Do you see it?
I'm 42 years old. I've played guitar for 25 something years. I've seen headstocks all my life, I believe. I've never seen that.
So, like I said, everything's the same except the perimeter of the headstock and the butt of the neck, where here it has a 5-foot radius surrounded on. I've been asked, for what reason does a Strat have that? And I can't think of any reasonable explanation other than they just wanted it a little bit different, because from the center of the last fret to the end of the neck, it's the same math. All right, so moving on, we're gonna go to the Stratocaster headstock. Again, perhaps there's no doubt that there was influence from Paul Bigsby's newfangled guitar. However, I have seen like Renaissance instruments that have a similar type profile. But the main reason was, so that this came secondarily after they had a discussion, because the strings covered up this logo, and so they moved it downward. And for the same reason, the large headstock, because Columbia Broadcasting had its own television network, they wanted the logo to be seen on TV and therefore make it larger, and consequently the headstock larger. And that's how we got where we're at.
Thank you, Mark. Amazing. So 2024 is the 70th anniversary of the Stratocaster. The 2024 latest model is very different to what we started with in 1954. Yes. But they're still Strats. So Ruben, what is it that makes a Strat, in your opinion?
All right, there's definitely different ways, and I can answer. There's a long, elongated way and the truthful, summarized way. I will always be truthful. The Strat, what it means to me. What it means to me is a tool that gives an ability to be able to be flexible, not just in sounds, but also in components. You can swap in and out. That's my engineering side of the brain thinking. But it's not just only that. The Strat is not only parts that we can swap out, even though that we can and that we do it. And everyone that owns a Strat knows and does it, and we love it, and we love our Strats. We make it our own. My first Strat, I will never sell it, and it's heavily customized. But it says Fender, and I will keep it to the end of my life. But the Stratocaster is way more than the sum of its parts. The Stratocaster speaks of a wanting of a company in the 50s to be able to evolve and revolutionize something, and to give musicians and players something that they never had. And our wanting 70 years later is still the same. We honor our past. We love our 50 Strats. We love the 54. And we love right now our 2024 Strats. And we wanna still put things out there. We wanna tweak some. We wanna make something radical different. We wanna try it out. What the Stratocaster means is that our spirit to wanting to do things for the musician and for the players, a small stage in your house, in your loft, in your living room, or the biggest stage in stadiums. We just wanna put things out there that musicians can use to express themselves, and we just love being part of the circle of music that we've been talking about. And the circle of music is not just the musician playing at the end or playing in a studio. It's also the guitar makers or the folks that are sanding and rounding edges, ladies winding pickups, and tune and testers that are all musicians playing them out at the end with pride and hoping that someone will appreciate what they do. The Strat can be anything for everyone, but it's everything to someone. And I love that we can have and live in both worlds.
Correct. You have a Strat just here, for example.
Yes.
What could I do to this Strat to make it not be a Strat? You know, at which point do I cut this off?
Yes.
Or do I put in humbuckers? Or do I make it hardtail? Where does the Strat start and end to you?
When we're talking about just the necks or just the bodies, the Strat for me is their perfect balance in your hands or when it's hanging, and the perfect comfort and versatility to do anything that you want. And that means that, for example, what would not make it a Strat for me?
Yeah.
Is that the balance of the weight, because the shape is different, cuts off a little bit. If I'm not able to access here as awesome and as comfortable, it wouldn't be a Strat. Sound-wise, it sounds different than a Tele, but it sounds 1,000 different ways. But you can also recognize a Strat with your eyes closed. You hear Nile Rodgers playing, and you know it's a Strat. You guarantee everyone you know it's a Strat. There's also something about it. You can swap pickups, but you can also hear a little bit of the soul of the Strat, even with swapping pickups. So for me, it's in terms of the weight, easiness of playing, and how comfortable and perfectly it fits on your hand. And we have so many different variations that everyone's hand will be fitted to any Strat that we make, or any Strat that will be made after us. We're gonna go on. The Strat will live on, and we'll have its 100th anniversary, 150th anniversary.
What makes a Strat a Strat?
I think for me, what makes a Strat is the aspiration that it can bring to someone as a musician, as an artist. You know, that's where it begins for a lot of people, right?
We have the humbucker, the single. We have any Strats, the Floyds. Every Strat is different, unique, with the color of the pickguard, the settings. It just depends what humbucker uses, like the humbucker. Every Strat that we have every year is unique. Everything's different. It changes every year.
I'd say right offhand, it's the contours and the pickups. Without that, it's not a Strat.
For me, it's the sound, the feel, the body shape. That's tough. The appearance also a big part of it.
For me, what I do for a living is I make the Strat what you think it should be. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but there's guardrails we kind of got to stay within to keep it Fender-like. You know, if you said you wanted a Strat with another manufacturer's shape, well, that's not a Strat anymore. But we get some pretty out there requests, and if for you a P90 in the bridge is what makes a Strat do its thing, then so who am I to say otherwise, right?
I've toured the Fender factory. I have seen the machines that make these guitars. I've met the people that put the human element into them. I've asked them what they think makes a Strat, and everyone has given a very different answer. Yet for some reason, I agree with them all, and no one's given a wrong answer. For me personally, when I pick up a Strat, I want that sound. I want the way the guitar fits on my body, but also because when I sing and play, I want the volume pots and the pickup switch to be in the correct position for me, the standard position. So all the modifications that Fender have made over the years means that that's generally the same. And of course it is 2024, which means 70 years of the Strat. And this is a 70th anniversary model, as close as Fender can get to that iconic guitar that was made all those years ago. And then they're still updating the design, this one being the latest of 2024, the Fender Stratocaster, the Ultra model, which has some switching options. It's got a wildly different heel and designed for the modern player. It's still a Strat. A massive thank you to Fender for inviting us here today, and keep on making Strats. Here's to another 70 years and maybe another 700. Anything that keeps guitar alive. Thank you for watching. There's a subscribe button if you want it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.